Hi, everyone. Welcome to the webinar, Building AI Success, Enhancing Data Quality and Integration. We're really excited to welcome you today. I'm Vicki Cantrell. I'm part of the Executive Council of the Retail AI Council. So I'm thrilled to be here and joined by Shannon, who runs the Retail Women in Tech, and we're doing a series of these with her. Just for those of you who may not know, the Retail AI Council is a retailer-led organization, and it's dedicated to helping retailers embrace the transformative nature of AI. Our mission really is to guide and empower retailers to navigate the disruptive technologies and the landscape of AI, making sure that we stay ahead of the curve and unlock new opportunities for growth. If you want to, it would be great if you could connect with us on LinkedIn, and I'll remind you this at the end. A few housekeeping. We're thrilled to have you here joining us, and I want to make sure that you put any questions you have into the chat, and we will keep an eye on those and ask the esteemed panelists during the session. Want to thank our sponsor, Reactor by Sound Commerce. And now I'm going to turn it over to Shannon. Take it away, Shannon.
Hello. Really excited to continue. This is our second series in this partnership with the Retail AI Council. And for those of you who are not familiar with the Retail Women in Tech community, we were formed about a year and a half ago, but really got going this year. And we're dedicated to supporting and empowering women and allies who have a passion for retail and technology. The reality, that's anybody who's in retail today. Everybody's job has technology. So we take everybody to be a part of the community. And what we try to do is foster connections between people of different backgrounds to inspire, support, and learn from one another and navigate through this thing we call life and our careers. We offer a variety of different resources like networking opportunities, different platforms, learning and development sessions, a mentorship program that we piloted this year that we're launching in earnest at the beginning of next year, while also working with external partners to advance the present and impact of us, such as Retail AI Council. Well, I do this because actually no one else is. Women make up the most of the retail industry, but very few of us are in leadership roles, let alone in tech companies, brand IT, consulting firms. So the reality is there aren't enough of us. And we've been making a difference for some time. So there's a lot more potential to make even more. So that's, please join. I'm going to do the plug just like Vicki did. You can follow us on Retail Women in Tech on LinkedIn. And you're going to start to see that we're forming a lot of teams, a board, and a committee as we kick off 2025. But no further ado, I will be your moderator, but we're here to listen from Shirley and Emma. So Shirley, can you provide your background, and then Emma will go to you, and then we'll start to dive in.
Sure. Thank you, Shannon. Thank you, Vicki, for offering such an amazing opportunity. I'm Shirley Gao. I'm the Chief Digital and Information Officer at PacSun. PacSun is a youth brand. We serve our customers at fashion, sports, music, and art. I've been in retail and IT for as many years as my entire career. I'm very happy to join you for the discussion today.
Thanks, Shirley and Shannon and Vicki, echoing the very excited to be on a panel of such well-esteemed women as well on a very important topic. So my name is Emma, and I am Chief Commercial Officer for basically Reactor Sound Commerce Technology. And we're helping companies like PacSun onboard their data, but more importantly, label it and map it and turn it into useful data so that it's business ready for things like analytics, activation, and of course for AI, what we're talking about today. My background, I started out in consulting. I was a retailer, just like many of you. I worked on the retail side at ToysRUs.com way back in the day. And we have some stories about that. But I really saw the value of how partnerships can speed up time to value for many retailers. And I have joined some great tech partnerships along the way, including Salesforce, some supply chain management companies like Commerce Hub and Logic Broker. And now here at Sound Commerce and Reactor, really bringing the AI story to the forefront.
Fabulous. We've got two experts I know that are going to be able to answer some, hopefully not too hard of questions. But one of the things that we've talked about in regards to these series is diving deep into different topics. Lots of the webinars are focusing on use cases and the benefits. But the how we do this is equally, if not arguably, more important than what we're doing. So I found a quote or a headline out there that I really loved that I think will help set the stage. I'm going to share a few things and then we'll dive into the questions. But AI needs data more than data needs AI. And at the core of every AI system lies this fundamental truth. The quantity and quality of the data is paramount to the effectiveness of AI. So in essence, data is the lifeblood of AI. This is a technology that uses algorithms to mimic our human reasoning. Subsets of AI include machine learning, deep learning, generative AI. As an example, right, we talk about Gen AI. It's the huge one that's the big buzzword, but machine learning still very important. But with Gen AI, it ingests huge amounts of data to respond to plain language instructions. But guess what? That's becoming a lot less plain and a lot more sophisticated as we go. It seems almost daily there's some more news out there around what it can do. But then we have the machine learning systems that can learn from huge amounts of data as they consume to improve predictions, make personalized recommendations, automate complex tasks, and power a variety of other use cases, which some of those we'll explore today and what data is used to enable those. And again, stating the obvious that the data just doesn't need to be data, it has to be high quality. And so we're going to talk a lot about today what that looks like. Because in order for AI systems to be reliable interpreters and derive meaningful insights from these huge data sets, the quality is the thing that retailers need to really be focusing in on today. The retail industry and AI are a great match. I think when we think about the use cases that we hear about just across industries, we hear a lot that makes sense for retailers. We already collect vast amounts of data. Is it good data? I think that's one of the things we'll talk about today. But AI can absolutely shine in our industry. Even though retailers and brands have been implementing or at least playing around with AI technology, I think one of the hurdles that most are facing now is, our data is not what it needs to be to actually unlock the value. Again, data has not been something that has been sexy or had great ROI. So the investment there for a lot of retailers was minimal. And joked, they all threw it in a data warehouse and now it's gotten thrown into a data lake. And I worked at a brand where there was 6 different versions, definitions of receipts. Those things are not good enablers, right, to make AI happen. Coming back to the female theme, like we said, women represent the majority of the retail workforce, and we account for and influence the majority of retail purchases. So it's only natural we should be at the forefront of the AI technologies that are emerging, that are changing the way employees and customers experiences. So we're going to hear from Shirley and Emma that help educate our community of women and allies that hopefully inspire you to maybe go out and do something in your organization to make a change. So I'm going to move now to the discussion. We know the benefits. They're talked about ad nauseum, task automation, customer service, planning and forecasting, employee empowerment. I think some of the really interesting emerging use cases are around sustainability. It's being used in IT. Obviously, there's a ton of cost savings. And there's a quote that I'm going to lead us off with that I thought was really important, which is, people tend to believe that AI ML is a magic wand that will solve all of our data quality and trust issues by combing through unstructured, non-standard, and incomplete data, but still giving us the desired output. This is far from the truth. So let's get started with that question. Shirley, we'll go to you. Why is this so far from the truth?
Oh, that's a great question. In some degree, it is to us in the general life, it is sort of a magic wand, right? It's amazing that now how you can even voice chat with ChatGPT and how all those AI generate videos and photos from description. However, that magic did not happen really magically. It came from data. I just want to emphasize that AI, there are in general right now two types, either machine learning or generative AI. Machine learning, there's a learning there. So what is it learning? That's from data. And generative GPT stands for generative pre-trained, right? Pre-trained transformer. So what is it pre-trained from? Data. So again, so either from 30 years ago when IBM first made the deep learning Deep Blue that played the chess game versus 10 years ago that I think DeepMind or AlphaGo made that that AI that won the Go game. It's all being trained by human beings games, and so that AI, it now does have a sort of the neural design, whatever the technology is, it has a mind there that it can learn on its own. But again, we also have a saying like garbage in, garbage out. So the data quality is really the key. So for training the AI to be truly intelligent and excuse me, to be truly intelligent and generate the useful, helpful to human being, to our personal life or professional life, really relies on the quality of the input to the AI.
Yeah,
I think go ahead, Emma.
Well, I was going to say, I can add to that. I mean, we're seeing that every day. You know, there's two like really large assumptions that everybody's kind of thinking about with AI. Everybody thinks, okay, first of all, these models that we're getting are trustworthy. Everything's great. You know, the data is feeding it is clean and unified, and we all have access to it. But the truth is there that we're running out of, you know, aging public internet content is being kind of absorbed. It's almost out, right? And that's the data that we're used to training the models on. And those models then have to have access to like unified, useful, meaningful data. So it's really a matter of what is the data that's out there today, how clean is it and unified is it that can be useful? And that's actually what's feeding the AI magic wand right now, right? And we're far from that truth. I mean, you know, my colleague and I were talking about this the other day. There is a stark difference already in kind of some of the bias and some of the garbage in that Shirley was just mentioning. You know, you don't have to go too far and just go to a Google prompt and type something in like what makes a good man versus what makes a good woman, and you can see kind of some stark differences there. So, you know, whether your AI is now being trained on materials with that kind of bias or in your own enterprise with kind of garbage data, the results are really as good as the data that's feeding it.
Which is a great transition. You guys started to touch on that. What are the characteristics of good data? You know, as I've spent more time, I think I lumped a lot of these characteristics in one bucket. And I think we're at a place that we're needing to really pull them apart and have a point of view and a plan around them. So when I was doing my research to reinforce, like I said, oh, these things really need to be pulled apart, and I'm going to throw these out, and then you guys can touch on some of the these characteristics and what they mean to you. But, you know, there's a path around data quality and governance, right? What does that process look like? We'll talk a little bit around the process and the collection of data here in a second. Obviously, the governance framework, and I'll be quite candid in my experience working with retailers to date. The governance piece isn't quite there yet, and that's a little scary. The completeness of the data, you talked about the unified piece, Emma, but really, what does completeness look like when you're feeding it in? I think it is very much talked about, but I don't know if we've got the measures in place around bias and making sure that the data is representative of what you're looking for, the timeliness of it. So as I've moved into Gen AI, it's like, boy, models are not being refreshed as frequently as you might think they might be, right? They're being refreshed maybe once every 6 months. That's going to drive to tough data. And then obviously when we say accessibility, but it's really around it not being very accessible. What are the privacy, what are the security things that you're thinking about for characteristics of good data? So I threw a lot out there. But Emma, do you want to touch on some of those, and then Shirley, give your perspective on where you think where the industry is and where it needs to start focusing?
Yeah, Shannon, you're spot on. I mean, there are some great frameworks in the public domain that describe good data completeness, timeliness, error-free, things like this. But when we're talking about the context of AI, we can summarize data quality as all of those things, but also, what's necessary for a model or for a human to be able to make sense of all that. So it could be simple labels. It might be a map of where that data came from. It can be a long form, kind of natural language explanation. So it could be, I would think kind of a variety of things, really. It can be very specific, down to the concept of the code that generated that data in the first place. But it's the concept of the data that describes the data, or kind of in our world, we refer to that as the semantic layer or the data catalog, right? This is kind of the big idea behind the generative AI, where we're looking at, what are all the things that describe good data? It has to make sense as well. So it's complete, it's timeliness, it's error-free, but it also makes sense to, a human and for model purposes.
Yeah, I think I agree with you, Shannon, how you mentioned earlier that from quality perspective as well, governance. Regarding quality, the first thing is definitely accessibility. So if you don't have access to data, you can't do much, you can't train, you cannot get any insight out of the data. As I've been talking to CIOs, some, and a lot of surveys we ask, is the company, are you ready for AI? And what is your top priority or top obstacles? I've seen top problem, obstacles is data. I was like, keep on wondering, data what? I think that is the data quality as well, the data accessibility. Not until I get a chance to sit down with some other CIOs and had a discussion, and I heard from them that many companies have a very complicated business. Through acquisitions, they have multiple countries, multiple business entities, and some of their systems are still in the legacy IBM or old form, so it's hard to access. So that leads to what do you really need for data? What means that the quality and readiness? I think in my experience, there are a couple of things. Number one is probably integrity, which means that the data are in a good, well, even unorganized data. Now we see, you have social media, you have the customer behavioral data, but still integrity is the key. Without that, you cannot train, AI can't learn. Secondly, is the diversity. It cannot be just the single point of view. I think Emma mentioned it a little bit. If you look for some sort of AI generated person, it depends on how AI was trained. It tend to be in a certain age or race or kind of looking, but not with the diversity. The other one is that Emma mentioned the unification to the clean data. Unified and identified and labeled correctly. Another thing I can think of is the completion. So that's also, if you have 5 business entities, you can only have 3 accessible, then it's not providing the holistic view of the business. So with all those, that's in my experience about it's important essential factors for data quality. But in terms of governance, I think from the overall, I always want to say that we need to rely on the giant tech companies that like OpenAI, Microsoft, Google, and those companies to work on the super alignment and also data validation. But from our perspective, we are users. Recently we work with our BI software provider on the enterprise. So SoundCommerce provides a great customer data platform for PacSun, but we also have our enterprise business intelligence. So we work with them to create a conversational AI analytics. So you can ask AI, hey, what is my last year this time top performers or top styles or top region, etc. And what was the promotion? So I'm now asking my team to put a phrase or verbiage on the icon, say that, hey, the users are responsible for validating the data through this AI conversational. So I say that if you run the enterprise reporting, the dashboard that we have been creating in the last 10, 15 years, I'm responsible because I'm the head of IT. But now with AI, the layer added on top of it, even that training data came from the true enterprise data. However, there is a AI layer that it's out of anybody's control. Even whoever OpenAI top scientists, they cannot explain 100% why AI gives this answer. There is a word called hallucination, right? So that I want to put a reminder for every user before you click this, that's the answer that the insights the AI provides you, that we human beings are responsible for the fact check, for the validation. And we cannot just blame AI going forward, go, oh, I made the wrong business decision because AI gave me the wrong answer. We have to take that part of responsibilities.
Oh, you nailed it. There's so many things that I wanna I wanna dive into on that. Some of which we'll address as we move through. But I said we weren't gonna focus in on use cases, more the data to do the use case, but I think you did both here. But the use case around asking and querying on enterprise data, I think is going to be an incredibly huge unlock and a fundamentally different way that we work today. So that's one of my most favorite ones.
Sorry for jumping ahead of your questions.
No, that's good. That means they're the right questions. And we'll get a little richer. But, I mentioned that, retailers have historically not prioritized data, and it's only just recently taken center stage. And it was about, I don't know if it was last year's Shop Talk or the one before that, I was like, oh, finally, data is being recognized as being so critically important. But why is it such a mess today? And let's talk about that because we're going to go into we're going to go into some use cases here and what kind of data can be used, because I think that's another thing is people don't know, oh, these are the different types of data I need to do, for example, like personalization. So yeah, let's talk for a second. Why do you think it is such a mess? And I bet, Emma, you have a lot of insight to this, your experiences.
Thank you. Yeah, there are a lot of reasons why the data is a mess today. And primarily because there's such a rise in new vendors that you can all work with. Every third party that you're working with today has some sort of data and they have some great new capabilities, right? And you want access to all of those great capabilities that are going to propel your business forward. And as a result, you can do almost anything with any of the data from any source. It's almost limitless, right? Like you can tackle any kind of question, you can ask anything to anybody, but it creates a new problem, right? It creates kind of this, some people refer to it as a data swamp. It's like this overwhelming amount of data piling up, and Shirley was mentioning a couple of use cases around, what are my top products, or, where are my customers and things like this. So every system that you have may have a version of what a product is. Are they all using the same definition, or is this system over here naming a product in this way? I mean, Shannon, you mentioned 7 different types of receipts in the system. So when you're then pulling and asking questions of that data, what answer are you getting? Because this data swamp not only has overwhelming amount of information, it's not organized and it's continuing to grow and grow and grow. So not only is it becoming a mess, it's also getting pretty expensive too. So, what we've been seeing is kind of a transition from like traditional data to then like a modern data stack where let's get all of our data together. And then kind of finally kind of data first, like a data first strategy. Like how do we simplify all of that, right? And then get more power to everyone so that it's not such a mess. And so, that's kind of some of the reasons why we're in this space today. Our founder really had a challenging time with that and a couple of his other endeavors. And so the understanding of how to get a data platform in place that can really help then enable all these other use cases that you have has become more and more critical.
And I think it's flipping the script, right? So it's, to your point, it's data first. So okay, what do we want to do? What experiences do we want to provide for our customers? Now, what's the data we need to be able to do that? Oh, now what do we need to give our employees to meet those needs and to, surpass customer expectations? In some way, I think the framework is very simple, but it's a paradigm shift, or it's flipping things on its side. But before we go into the use cases, you talked a little bit about this, Shirley, but around governance. But there is the collection of data, there's the labeling, the storing, the quality management. Obviously, that ties to documentation. What are the things that your organization are doing? And then maybe, Emma, if you're seeing some other organizations out there that are truly, that have processes in place to do that. And what does good look like, Shirley? Because I bet there's people out in this audience that are struggling with all of these components.
Yeah, I think, yeah, this is the same question. So what you need to do to get the good data is really depending on where the mess is from, how you end up having such a mess right now, and then you can try to untangle it and try to figure out for each case. I think there's no companies has exactly the same business case, the same mess, but it all came from different areas, such as that we all inherited all the legacy systems, right? So some systems started 20, 30 years ago on the mainframe age that, Visa, what is VSAM file, the file indexed, or the DB2 database. And another area is that nowadays that all the new technology were created siloed. Google Analytics created their way. They didn't think about how they integrated with the other platforms, right? So then we started having the new way of this new omni-channel or unified commerce in retail. So in addition to a legacy store point of sale system, now you're going to handle online purchase, e-commerce. Now we have social commerce. Then we're selling on TikTok, and we're selling, we connect our customers on Instagram. And then you start having international. And internationally, business is different, right? The way how business is run in China versus in Europe versus here is all different. So now with everything added together, that's how complicated life is. It's just the reality. So we have our book smart, we have in theory, oh yeah, in theory, this is how we should be doing that. But I think each business really has your uniqueness that you have to figure out a way that what's your low-hanging fruit, how you can tackle those, and start small and then organize it and learn from your experience and expand it, integrate with more. And so for PacSun, my experience is so again, we have two types of data or business intelligence. One is the accumulated probably 10, 15 years of business intelligence that covers the entire company's enterprise reporting, dashboard, data analytics. The other side that I'm grateful that we get to know SoundCommerce right before COVID. So we started working together to put this customer data platform. So in the past 3-4 years working with SoundCommerce, we have built a customer centric data lake or database or whatever you call the platform. So we have customer data well organized, well identified. Therefore, so it started from the beginning to cover the integrity, the completion. Of course, we have been adding more. Started putting integration with Meta, with Google, with our marketing team, with our merchandising team, with our CRM, loyalty, with all the data adding in. So that's to have more of 360 degrees of view of the customer's history, behavior, profile, etc. So in that case, we started with a good partner in a good position that accelerated the process so that we can quickly get to the point that it can be used for AI. On the other side, my enterprise data has been there for the last 15 years. However, PacSun is always very emphasize that innovation, staying on at the edge of technology. So we started many years ago to modernize our enterprise systems. So that includes that we upgraded our business intelligence to the cloud-based platform. So that enabled the metadata is in the cloud-based, it's ready. And then recently, we migrated our data warehouse into Snowflake. So that ever since then, every partner I work with, and they will go, "Hey, we love it. You're ready. We can quickly access it." So that's something that can be done on the enterprise side. It does take months, many months, but that's something that we can do before we can be 100% perfect, but at least we can be somewhere to I always believe the crawl, walk, and run strategy. So identify the low-hanging fruit to get the quick wins, but meanwhile have the long vision and then to start small and then get ourselves ready eventually. But it doesn't mean that you can't start AI until you're 100%, maybe 50%, and it's good enough, or somewhere and in a certain area you can start.
Yeah, I would totally agree with that. We've had a great partnership with PacSun and really helping to modernize what's going on there while respecting the fact that there's a lot of legacy systems out there with a lot of good data that you want to be able to use as you're looking forward and how you're going to grow your business. When I think about kind of how traditionally today people are tackling kind of data governance, what springs to my mind is like kind of a SOC 2 compliance, right? There's documentation, and then this is what we're all going to do, and then we all follow the documented processes. But so now in this kind of new world, it's almost like a bigger revolution underway around AI, and it's post data almost, because to your point, data is everywhere, it's already in here. What are we doing with it? So tackling that data complexity as early as you possibly can in your business, in your processes, is going to produce more critical, timely, and accurate results. So waiting until the very last minute to kind of, let's put some labels on this, it's not going to really produce the results that you want, right? But if you can do it from the start, even if you take a small subset, take your digital marketing channels and start there, really start to understand that data, bring it in, model it and map it and label it in the way that it can make sense, then, you're really leading with a data first strategy. So you're getting curated data sets, you're getting the organization to trust those data sets. Everybody can see where it's all coming from. It's consistent, it's reliable. And everybody is now starting to say, our ad spend is this. Our customers are this, our orders are this, right? And once we start having these common definitions across the entire organization, then everybody can really start working together in kind of this flywheel effect where AI and all these other great things and other forms of business intelligence can start to analyze the data, because we're all working on the same foundation. But it's good to start small, and it's good to start early, so that you can really start to take advantage of what's going on with AI.
Emma, you brought up a word that I had not thought about, which is critical. Shame on me, is trust. And that is what we're trying to build. A lot of, I think, especially, the Gen AI hype cycle is it's happened. There's, not maybe the same enthusiasm, though the value has not changed. And in fact, more use cases are exploding. As we said, it feels like almost every day, but the adoption has been so low because of the lack of trust. And I bet you could 9 times out of 10, 99% of the time go back to that the data was probably not right, feeding that use case.
Yeah, there's one thing I want to add to what Emma explained. This data quality is a continued effort. It's not something that you have it done once and then you're perfect. In my previous job that we were doing ERP and transformation from a 30 years technology debt to modernize the systems. So we had probably 20, 30 people sit in the room, just work on item, customer, and vendor. That 3 types of data, do cleansing, relabel, reorganize. But then after that huge effort, this is daily, weekly, that governance, monitoring the data integrity, making sure that there are the things that the exceptions or the outliers get identified and organized, and then it's a positive loop that you go back to revisit your entire data processing to make sure that you apply the enhancements and then to make a future data organization more efficient. So this is something that we continue to work with Sound Commerce to our customer data. I think it was just 4 weeks ago, we did another checkup just to say, hey, how's our customer identity cleansing process going, and do a quality assessment. So this is really a ongoing effort that just like how we teach our kids. There's no day you can rest and don't worry about it.
I think that's a really important call out, Shirley, because when we were talking about like timeliness, completeness, that AI is relying on this data. If it is not being highly managed and governed on a very regular basis, we're going to get the results that people don't trust. I do want to chat about, and Emma, yeah, I'm going to throw out a bunch of use cases, but yeah, I know you guys really focus on CDPs, and that's an area that retailers had not invested in data, much more at this, it was the CRM, right, kind of customer data, but not to that individual level of data. But that's where we know that there's so many great insights, and frankly, to me, this is where the industry has a huge opportunity to transform, but from thinking just product, but also customer and product and experiences. So when we talk about what data is actually needed to deliver on personalization or marketing and creative or in-store experiences, what is some of that? Because I think that can help make it very real to people, that these are the specific metrics that are being used to help deliver some of these use cases. So whichever one you, Shirley and Emma, want to share to bring some fidelity to these use cases around data, that'd be great. Emma, do you want to go first?
Yeah, maybe I can go first, because then, Shirley, PacSun's been a great adopter of, it's not just about your customer. It is very strongly about your customer. But in order to really understand that, you need to bring in data from everywhere. And, traditional kind of the standalone CDPs out there, they're focusing very hard on customer journey, and I don't want to say, and that's it, but understanding what is the margin of the product that is being bought from a merchandising perspective, what is the shipping impact from an operations and a fulfillment perspective, what are these things that are actually, leading to your profitability, and are you really encompassing all of those things? Are you bringing all of that in? So, the analytics and the BI is huge, right? Making data-driven decisions on all of it. The power of it is bringing all of it in. And so, I would say everywhere where a data point exists, bringing it in and leveraging that, so that when you say a customer, that's a customer that bought in store, or a customer that bought online, or a customer that's not yet a customer, right? Like, how do you make sure that we're all talking about a customer? So, all those different kinds of experiences that you want to publish on your website, to in-store couponing and things like this, it's not just about the customer. And what I've seen too, one of the reasons I joined Reactor and Sound Commerce was because I was at a company where you could see all of these great sales happening all the time, and sales flying off the shelf kind of sometimes gives me a red flag. Like, why are these sales flying off the shelf? And it turns out they were heavily being promoted on some TV news show. They had tons of coupons to kind of clear the shelf. Free shipping out the wazoo. And it turns out through COVID, they had a massive amount of inventory left on their shelves, and they were doing anything possible because it was too expensive to hold on to that data. It's too expensive to hold on to those products. So at the end of the day, there were companies going, yay, look at all these orders flying through the system. But for the company, it was not profitable. If you're not looking at all of those different data elements, some part of your company is going, yay, this is great. And another part of your company might be going, well, not really, right? So I think the data that's required really has to include all of these different things, whether it's, your customer experiences online, to, what they're seeing in a store, to, what is your inventory position on these things, and what does the fulfillment of that look like as well? So I think that there are a lot of different pieces there, and the fact that you can now bring them in and model them all together so that you can have those entities, have the orders and the customers and the products, but also have observability into that whole thing so that you can know where it came from. And that comes back to that trust you were talking about before. We need to know where all this stuff came from and what's feeding it all. So there's a lot of value in bringing everything in together. And surely, I mean, PacSun's been a great example of bringing stuff in through all your OMS and your ERP systems over the years as well.
I do think that's a perfect transition because I want to make sure we have some time for questions. Perfect transition to we're talking about the customer and getting that data so we can drive these amazing experiences and empower our employees to do that. But consumer sentiment is very mixed about AI, and largely it's not just because of, you know, some of them are like, I want a human, right? I that we've all had horrible chatbot experiences. Eventually, I think we'll get to a place, and we're probably not that far away, that it's actually going to be way more useful than not, which is what it has felt like. But I've got, you know, these quotes, you can look up so many different surveys out there. But I've got a few that I'll share with you, that upwards of 90% of shoppers believe retailers should be required to be transparent about how they're using their data to inform AI. And a lot of it comes down to, again, trust, transparency. Customers believe upwards of 87%, and one, they have the right to access and review the data retailers have collected for them. 80% they want to be explicitly to seek consent. They feel like they'd take more product recommendations if there was more transparency. What I have found shocking, you guys, as I've done more and more research in this space, is it is more common that people are not accepting product recommendations than they are because they don't trust them. So when we move into this piece of the puzzle, I'm very curious around how you are thinking about it. We know that there was GDPR. Did I say it right? I think I got it.
It is.
And that one was universal. And then a couple of years ago, and while I was with Slalom, this was something that was really driving CDP, is when California put in CCPA. And that was first derived, I think, by legislators. And I remember at one point when it was moving all around that we weren't even going to be able to have loyalty programs anymore with the way that they were thinking about it. But it came down to, I as a customer have the right to get to that data. And that's what drove a lot of the CDPs. I think California was the first to start with, you know, allow all, reject all. I got to tell you, I find I will not shop. I will stop shopping at a brand if they make it hard for me to be able to deny collection. So I rambled on this side of it because I think this is really important. But Shirley, how are you at PacSun thinking about meeting your customers where they are and what their needs are as it relates to data?
Yeah, so the CDP we built, there are multiple aspects. One side is, as Emma mentioned, that we want to learn our profitability, you know, our product. But I think the other aspect is more importantly, we want to be able to understand our customers, what they want, what they like, what they don't like. So that's another reason for having this CDP, is really truly understand our customers in data insight. In terms of protecting customer privacy, as well adding the new AI compliance that California also recently passed those couple of new policies around AI. So as Shannon, you said that the consent that we disclose how we use AI, how we protect your data, and how the first-party cookies you can allow or reject certain cookies, and there's a consent always. It pops up so frequently, it also becomes a little annoying to me. I'm like, again, asking me again, but it's necessary. We also have an AI-powered chatbot, which is the customers can ask questions, especially during call center off hours. So you can ask, where's my order? I haven't received it. What is your store hour, etc. There, we also ask customers consent. We disclose that this is recorded because of the bot, the chat. But if you don't authorize, you can reject this and wait for the business hour to talk to human being or send us email. We in the recent 12 to 18 months, we have been working with many AI, either sophisticated leading technologies such as Google, or I mentioned that we use MicroStrategy, which is widely adopted by this retail industry. We also have implemented or in the middle of implementing many AI startups, the new solutions to enhance and improve customer experience, personalized marketing initiatives, etc. So our legal counsel and chief digital CISO, chief digital information, chief CISO, chief security of information security officer, CISO, in information security officer. So our chief counsel and the CISO always have a team that for every new vendor, we have specific AI, specific questions in terms of fully understand how you train your AI, where your data is hosted, and how we can protect our customer data, that we can elect to opt in or opt out. We have those specifically addressed in addition to security-wise. So we also have done internal training with all our associates to reinforce the policy, the corporate policy, how we use data, how we protect our customer data, etc. We have to take it seriously. We have to be aware that if we don't do a good job now, it's going to be too late to realize how important this is. So we're really trying our best to stay up to date, to learn the best practice, the law and regulations and compliance, and to make sure that we, while try our effort to collect the customer data, to serve them with relevant information, but meanwhile protect their privacy.
If I could add
really quick, I have hold that thought. Don't forget it.
Yeah, no, good.
Do you guys measure how often people are denying? I'm very curious about that. I never thought about the question. I'm a denier. I always turn everything off or reject all. But are you guys able to see any statistics on that? I'm curious to see how consumers are truly actually interacting.
Yeah, we haven't measured how often people deny, but we do keep the CCPA process that if customer contact us, ask do not sell, we never sell anyway. Ask us to delete their data, we have a process to thoroughly delete it. But we need to understand that with AI, AI is trained. Once you get something in that AI brain, there's no physical deletion, right? But you do, because it's anonymized, so you don't associate your personal information with that AI knowledge. That is, at this moment, what delete means from AI training. But we do teach our associates, at least, that do not overshare, do not share company's confidential information, do not share your personal information, because once it is into the AI brain, there's no physical delete. You can only cut it off and make sure that's why we want to make sure every AI solution we use, that they normalize it without linked to individual people, either associates or customers, so that if the customer asks for the protection to delete my data, don't use my data, that we can formally cut it off, make sure that there's no further impact.
Yeah, I was just going to add really quick on that. I mean, there's a reason why PacSun sales are really doing well, and it's because they take this data privacy very seriously. On one hand, like consumers, they want the benefits of great personalized experiences and targeted services. They want all of this great stuff, but there is this growing concern that privacy is not so great. It could be used in bad ways. So there's this like yin yang there, and companies like PacSun that are really balancing those and being very open about how they're tackling the data privacy and how data is being collected. Customers are really liking that. So, they want it, but they also want to know what you're doing with it. So the more open you can be, the better your business will be as well.
Yeah, one thing I want to clarify is that, Shannon, even if you are the kind of customers that you want to reject everything, that doesn't stop us serving you. It doesn't stop you shopping. It just means that we don't have that level of understanding of your personal preference. So when you get on the website, if we know your preference, your shopping history in our CDP, which include online, offline, your return history, your customer lifetime value, so that we can serve you better. We can recommend you. If you always buy fashion items versus sport or streetwear, so next time when you get on the website, if we have the cookie, we understand you better. We show you more relevant to improve your efficiency of your shopping experience. If you go, I just want to be anonymous, you go open the browser, you choose the incognito mode. I just don't want you to know me at all. That's perfectly fine. You see the general information that we provided to the customers. That there are always customers. I think in general we have about 15% of customers don't want to identify themselves.
Oh, that's what I was curious about, and I'd be interesting to see how that, if that goes up, if that goes down, right? It's a relatively new activity, I think, across the country. Again, us in California have been doing it a little bit longer, but there's a couple of questions we haven't gotten to, but one I do want to end with the humanity of AI and the importance. But because what people, one of the questions, audience, that I had to them is, what are people not talking enough about? And we've touched a lot of those, right? The bias, the discrimination, the hallucinations, like these are real issues, and there are real life examples of where this is happening. We've spent a lot of time on privacy, data exploitation, a really important one. But the one that I think we're going to need to continue the conversation around is the lack of transparency for the AI systems themselves. They can't tell us how they're getting to these answers. And when I found that out a couple of months ago, it was like a wow moment for me. And I'm a huge proponent of AI, but I think that's a conversation we're going to need to start having more and more as we go through our transformation with AI. But before we close out, because we'll see if we have a couple of minutes for questions, let's talk about, I think it's obvious, but AI and humans are not at odds. They're symbiotic. And let's talk, the way that humans need to be involved with the decision-making, accountability, really the contextual understanding. But how are you seeing the role of humans in your own AI journeys, be it at SoundCloud and at PacSun?
I can go real brief. For me, it's working with great companies like PacSun and other retailers. They're defining what they need. They know what they need to run their business, and they're asking the questions. So, how do they define those use cases? How do they figure out what the prompts are? In our daily life, when we go to ChatGPT, what are the things we're typing in? And how do you then audit the work? I think humans are really needed to say, hey, does that make sense? Is that really what we're doing here? So, for me, the role of humans are to really define the use case. What do they need? What prompts do we need to add? And then how can humans audit the work to make sure they feel trustworthy across the whole organization?
Yeah, at PacSun, I think I'm grateful that the leadership has the vision and has made AI as our differentiator. It's our strategy. Our CEO emphasizing every town hall meeting. She set the goal for the executive leadership to dedicate at least 10 hours per week on AI related, thinking and business cases. And our board, every time there's a board meeting, our board members will ask, what are you doing? Learn from other companies, etc. Company-wide, we have done several trainings, webinars, lunch and learn. What is interesting is that I do see many associates from leadership to business analysts, directors, managed designers. They are enthusiastic about AI. They have very high curiosity. They want to learn. They want to try, or they're already using AI. However, on the other side, I think in general, this is something that I think we're not talking enough is in general the knowledge, the truly understanding of AI. I think everybody has their own interpretation. People feel like this is some sort of technology too far from me. I don't think you have to read a 2,000-page book to truly understand AI. You don't have to take a training. Because when I talk to my developers and they go, oh, I try to sign up a school, a course that's, $5,000. I don't think I can afford it. So learning AI doesn't mean that it has to be a college class. It doesn't mean that has to be, a series of books. It's everywhere in life. And then I tell people that you can, while you every day browse Instagram or TikTok, you can also subscribe from some technical leaders. So go YouTube, there are official channels. Just read a few, watch a short video on a daily basis. So that's how you can accumulate your knowledge and to understand and learn AI. The more you know about it, the more you can be better of using it. So that is in the future how we can empower ourselves to use AI in the business, that we become the best, rather than it's not AI taking over our jobs. It's ourselves, that we use AI as a tool to equip ourselves to be the better resource to do our own jobs.
Shannon, I would add something there, because Shirley pointed out about how much information is out there. And one of the things is joining the Retail AI Council, because the website, we keep getting more and more information. Our goal and our job is to disseminate information. And so the library is constantly being updated. So even if you encourage your staffs to join the Retail AI Council, at least it's free to do it, and at least they'll have access to all of that. And the other thing, just on the human side, it's not just that humans have to review. Okay, a human is absolutely necessary to do those things that we talked about during the webinar. But also what we're really seeing and what we're starting to talk about, and I love, is how much better life is for employees and for customers by utilizing, or by having the retailer utilize AI. It gets rid of the part of the job that people don't like. And so there's a really quite a deep impact of what we would consider human impact from AI, even just to relieve and make your job fun again. Okay, so I think that's another important part of AI.
Absolutely. Well, ladies, this has been very informative. As I prepared, I learned more, like I said, and really digging in and understanding all of the different characteristics and levers that are necessary to be able to do this. And to piggyback on what as you guys have been talking about the role of humans, right? Developing effective AI requires an in-depth understanding of the problem that is being solved for. And so this is where I think for women, you don't have to, and not to say we don't have women in programming or computer science or engineering, but we know we're very underrepresented there. But we do have expertise in a given domain. And that's where we can play a fundamental role. We do have a chance to be trailblazers, right? We can yield generative AI responsibly in our organization, but also, I'm going to use a strong word, forcefully. And by taking the action today, getting ourselves in there, we do have that opportunity to actually get ahead of the game and hopefully combat the gender inequality we have seen in technology to date, and really help pave the way for those coming into the industry as well. So I've really appreciated. I look forward to spending more time both with them and Shirley. That's one of the perks of doing this, is I get to meet other really cool trailblazing women out there. So thank you, everybody. You know where to find us. Please feel free to reach out on LinkedIn, follow the Retail AI Council, join it, and please look up Retail Women in Tech.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks very
Thank you.
much.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Bye.